Hello children, I welcome you all to our special English hour. I hope that you are all doing well. Here we learn lots of new things, and while learning these new things, we also have fun. Are you ready for some fun? Let's get started. Children, you all know it is very important for all of us to learn new words. So today, let's learn some new words. You will see these words in the poem when we read it. So I request you to please make a note of these words in your notebooks. Ambition, ambition, ambition. My ambition in life is to become a doctor. Greenwood, greenwood, greenwood. The greenwood was covered with trees. Hither, hither, hither. The birds were tweeting hither and thither. Enemy, enemy, enemy. He is my enemy. Throat, throat, throat. His throat was feeling itchy. Please open page number 79 of your Bal Bharati textbook. I will be reading this poem and I request you to point at the words as I read them. And if you don't have a textbook, listen to me carefully. Under the greenwood tree, who loves to lie with me and turn his merry note unto the sweet bird's throat. Come hither, come hither, come hither. Here shall he see no enemy, but winter and rough weather. In this stanza, the poet is inviting every one of us to be with him in the forest. He says that if you are in the forest, you will feel very relaxed and calm. The poet says that in the forest there are no enemies because the forest is surrounded by trees and beautifully singing birds. So if anyone decides to lie down in the forest, he will feel very relaxed and calm and composed. So here the poet is inviting all of us to be in the forest. The poet also says that there is nothing negative in the forest, which is why we should all be in the forest so that we feel happy. Who doth ambition shun, who loves to live in the sun, seeking the food he eats and pleased with what he gets. Come hither, come hither, come hither. Here shall he see no enemy, but winter and rough weather. Children, we all know that when we need food, we make it, or we buy products to make food from the market. But in the forest, there are no stores. We have to fetch food for ourselves. Before man started farming, man used to hunt animals, which is why when he lived in caves or in forests, man went hunting, and the food that was hunted was made sure that it lasted for a very long time. For a very long time in the history of humankind, man only survived on hunting, because then men used to move from one place to another. Man did not know the concept of building a house. But once man figured that out, man started staying at the same place. All the houses that the man built were near a river. So when you build a house near a river, you get a water source from which you can draw water. Now we all know how important water is in our life, which is why from water man decided that instead of going hunting, he can grow something by himself, and that will be enough for him to last at least for an entire year. And that is how man started farming. So today, even today, man farms and we buy those same products and prepare our food. But if you live in jungle, you will still have to fetch food, because you will not find any stores in the jungle. So what the poet is trying to say here is that we should leave our luxuries behind and go and stay in the forest. And only if you can do that, you should go to forest, because there are no enemies in the forest. The poem that we just read is written by William Shakespeare. Have you heard of William Shakespeare? William Shakespeare was an English writer. He used to write plays, poems, and even stories. William Shakespeare is considered to be the greatest writer in the history of English language. His plays are very famous all over the world. His playwright is so deep and it impacts so many people that they have been translated in many languages all over the world. You will also find many plays, movies, or even TV series made in India which are influenced by William Shakespeare's work. His work has inspired many writers. The plays that William Shakespeare used to write are studied even today, and they are also reinterpreted and made into different kinds of plays. Children, I hope you enjoyed today's poem, and I hope that you learned something new. Children, wasn't it an interesting poem? Now, let's do an activity. This activity is very easy and interesting. Are you all ready? The activity is you have to find Old English words from the poem. For example, have you heard of the word the? It is spelled as T-H-E-E. Yes, this word is an example of Old English. It means you. Today we say the word you, but in ancient times, for the word you, people used to use the word also, hither, which also means here. And finally, the last word is doth. Doth means does. So children, I hope that you were also able to find these words and what they mean. Children, wasn't it an interesting activity? Children, wasn't it an interesting activity? Now, let's do another activity. This activity is very interesting. Children, have you ever written a poem? If you have, great. But if you haven't, let's all write a poem together. On your screen, you will see a picture. This picture has a few lines and it has a few blank spaces. Now we need to fill these blank spaces by writing rhyming words. And the words that we write should be able to make a poem. Sounds easy? As I walk along, you ask me what I'd get to eat. Fruits and nuts and berries sweet. You ask me with whom I'd get to play. Birds and animals happy and gay. And if a woodcutter put a chop, firmly I would put a stop. So that's the life I'd like lead, free from worries, free from greed. Now it's time for you to sit back and relax while I tell you a wonderful story. The name of the story is Saving the Trees. This story is written by Hello English. The forest village had organized a very important meeting. All the villagers were part of this meeting. Now, many people were joining the meeting one by one. The leader of the crowd approached. and he gave them a piece of information. The information was that Mr. Alvarez, who was a builder, was going to cut down all the trees in the forest. And why was he going to do that? There were parents who were also chanting and singing and raising slogans in protection of trees. Suddenly, Alvarez's men entered the forest. They were carrying axes with them. Mr. Alvarez had sent his men to mark down the trees. They were supposed to mark down those trees that were supposed to be chopped off. And now these men started getting to their work. They marked almost all the trees that were going to be chopped off. But suddenly they stopped. They heard the chanting and singing of the people. Now they realized here. Men were also equally adamant. They were threatening people who were climbing on the trees. Aisha was very tired because she was holding on to a tree for a very long time. But nobody moved from their place. They continued hugging the tree until these men went away. Now, suddenly, a marching band of drummers arrived. They were singing even louder than the previous ones. Mr. Alvarez was very irritated. This band had brought a good news with them. The local council had decided that it was illegal to cut down these trees, which meant that Mr. Alvarez could not build his hotel and golf course. When Aisha heard this news, she was very, very, very happy. Children, I hope you enjoyed this story and I hope that it motivated you to protect our environment. Now, I will take your leave. I will see you all in our next session. Until then, take care and stay safe. Bye-bye.